Hello and welcome to the July 8th edition of Speedway Digest Thursday Night Thunder, the most hardcore motorsports program on the internet. This is episode 213 of the series, so crack open a cold one and get ready for an exciting motorsports program. This week, we'll be previewing upcoming motorsports action, reviewing past races, and chatting with our guest about MotoAmerica. For the first time in nearly 2 years, WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca will host fans for exciting racing action this coming weekend. July 9th through 11th, Geico Motorcycle MotoAmerica Superbike Speed Fest at Monterey will see the best motorcycle racers in the country navigate the challenging course, which is painted against a breathtaking backdrop. As the world reopens, there's no better place to see some first-class racing action while getting some sun and fresh air. The event weekend will include festivities for race fans of all ages. In addition to the 5 classes of racing, HONOS Superbikes, Super Sport, Stock 100, Twin Cup, and Superbike TrackGear.com Junior Cup. There will also be Mission King of the Baggers, Kids Zone featuring a carnival, 3-day camping, and bike shows. Michael Hill, the fan voice of MotoAmerica, will bring in plenty of entertainment to the fans at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. He'll be hosting the first ever party at the podium, starting at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Saturday at the paddock. The party at the podium will feature MotoAmerica riders for autographs, karaoke, and more. General admission tickets start at just $20 for tomorrow, Friday, $50 for Saturday and Sunday. A 2-day pass is only $60. A pass for all 3 days is only $70, making this one of the best bargains in outdoor entertainment. There are also significant military discounts available for active duty members and veterans. All children 12 and under again free with paying adult. For fans who want more exclusive experience, several upgraded ticket packages are also available. As we get ready for the weekend and all racing action that's going along with it, we're pleased to welcome Paul Carruthers, MotoAmerica Communications Manager, to the program. He's slated to be on in a couple minutes, so let's go ahead and stand by for him now. Unfortunately, I don't think that the music is working, but let's go ahead and give it a shot. Let's try a thing from Ron Castana and the pit crew. Find one here that'll work. I think we'll do short track racing. Sound good to you guys? Unfortunately, it seems like our send messaging is not in our chat this evening. Let's go ahead and give it a shot. It's not working. But it looks like we do have a person in the chat area this evening. Welcome Text 1025 into the chat room. Thank you for coming on the program tonight. As we stated, we've got a really good program slated for this evening. We're going to be talking a little bit about MotoAmerica. Hopefully, we get some good insight into this. I've actually only been to 2 different motorcycle races that I can recall. One of them at the Homestead Miami Speedway. That was for when the AMA Superbikes were racing down there. And I went to another racing event this spring. Went to the Supercross there in Orlando. Hey, Paul, are you connected?
Yeah, do you hear me?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Hello.
Hello, this is Adam Sinclair with Speedway Digest Thursday Night Thunder. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can. That's great.
Oh,
First
awesome.
off, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a little bit of question about safety. I know safety is a moving target nowadays in motorsports. How does safety continue to evolve in MotoAmerica specifically?
Well, yeah, it's of the utmost of importance to all of us. Obviously, with our president being Wayne Rainey, a three-time world champion, we also have several racers and people that have been around racing for a long time. So safety is absolutely 100% important. The safety of our riders is probably or is our number one concern. Um, we have air fence at our events. First of all, we only go to racetracks that we think are safe, that we believe are safe, or that have been homologated by the FIM to be safe. And then once we go into those tracks, we put plenty of air fence in all the impact zones, and we do everything in our power to make sure that our riders are as safe as they can be in case something goes wrong.
What sets MotoAmerica apart from the other top racing series in the country?
Well, we're the number one road racing series in the country, the premier road racing series. We run Superbikes, which are very, very similar to what they use in the World Superbike Championship. And we've done that on purpose. I mean, we want our motorcycles to be as similar as they can be to World Superbike, so that if our riders get the opportunity to go race in the World Championship, that they're familiar with how not only the motorcycles work, the electronics, but we also follow similar procedures to what they do as far as starting, uh, length of qualifying sessions, all that sort of stuff. Did I lose you? Hello.
Well, that leads me right into my next question. What is the main difference between MotoAmerica Superbike and the MotoGP series they run in Europe?
Well, the biggest difference between the MotoGP championship and the Moto America championship is the motorcycles themselves. Moto America and World Superbike use motorcycles that are based on production bikes. MotoGP is the complete opposite. They're one-off, uh, $1 million motorcycles that are, they're the Formula One of motorcycle racing. So that's where the series differs the most, is that MotoGP uses prototype motorcycles, nothing like you can actually purchase at your local dealer.
How many events does MotoAmerica sanction each year?
We do normally 10 with double headers. So in other words, we do 10 events, but 20 superbike races. They race twice on the weekend, once on Saturday and once on Sunday. This year, the COTA race in Texas at the end of the year, which we normally do with MotoGP, got taken off the calendar and then put on the calendar. But once it was taken off the calendar for the first time, we elected not to keep it on our calendar. So what we have now is 9 races. But at the last 2 races of the season in New Jersey and at Barber Motorsports Park in Alabama, we will run 3 Superbike races instead of 2. So what that amounts to is still 20 Superbike races in our championship.
And what's your favorite event that you run on the schedule?
Well, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but this one at Laguna, the one we're at this weekend is Laguna Seca in Monterey, California. It's obviously a beautiful part of the country and the world. It's one of our favorites. It's a really good racetrack. It's famous. They've had MotoGP and World Superbike here before. Personally, I'd have to put Road America in the top 1, 2, or 3 on my list of racetracks and places that we visit. Again, it's an immaculate facility. It's fast. It's 4 miles around. It's in a really cool little town of Elkhart Lake in Wisconsin, and it's just one of those places where you go to, and even though you're working, it's a nice place to have a good time.
I have a question from our chat room now. How many riders from your series end up moving to World Superbike per year, on average?
We've had a pretty good run of late. We had Garrett Gerloff. He was a Superbike. He won a couple of Supersport championships for us, and then he was a Superbike competitor, and he finished second in the championship and won his first MotoAmerica Superbike races. He got the opportunity to go to the World Superbike Championship with Yamaha. So this is his second year there now. He's had 3 or 4 podium finishes and looks to be on the verge of having his first race win fairly soon. Joe Roberts and Cameron Beaubier. Cameron Beaubier is a 5-time MotoAmerica Superbike champion. He's having his rookie season in the MotoGP series, but in the Moto2 class, which is it's one rung down from MotoGP, sort of like Formula 2 and Formula 1. So he's in his first season of Moto2, and he joined Joe Roberts, who has been there. I think he's in his 4th year of Moto2 racing. So we've got 3 guys from MotoAmerica that have made their way to the World Championship. So, we obviously follow them very closely, and they're all doing well. We're all proud of them, and I think it's just the beginning of getting more Americans back on that world scene.
What's a typical race weekend like for you?
Well, like today at Laguna Seca is kind of setup day. All the teams move in. It's also the day that we do our podcast. We do our podcast once a week, and we normally do them using Zoom or what have you. But when we have a race weekend, we do them with video, and we have the riders or whoever the guests are, on video. So that normally takes up our Thursday afternoon. Tomorrow, practice and qualifying starts. We do social media pretty much the entire day. And then tomorrow evening, I'll do a wrap-up press release for that day. Saturday and Sunday are pretty hectic because the races are virtually one after the other. So what my schedule's like there is there'll be a race. I'll go to the podium, do the podium ceremony, social media, some photography. Then I take the top 3 riders to a press conference, and I actually host the press conference. So I ask the riders questions. We do that on Facebook Live. And then the other journalists are there too. So I kind of MC that, and then the other journalists get the opportunity to ask the top 3 riders questions. Before you know it, the next race has started, and that process just runs through for the entire day because we usually have 5 or 6 races per day. So it gets to be pretty hectic. At the end of Saturday, I write a roundup press release that goes out to my media list, and on Sunday, the same thing. So the weekends go by pretty quick, and obviously there's lots of racing action, and lots of stuff that we have to do with those races. So it's a very rewarding weekend, and it's a really good job for somebody like me who's been around the sport for their entire life. So
going into this weekend at Laguna Seca, who do you think the favorite is in each class?
Well, obviously the Superbike favorite has to be Jake Gagne at this point. He's basically one of the 2-factor Yamaha riders, and he had a DNF in the very first race, but since then he's gone on a winning streak where he's won all 7 races since then. So he's the one with the target on his back right now, and I think nobody's given up the thought of beating him, but obviously somebody needs to step up here and make it happen fairly quickly. But it's racing, and anything can happen. But I think this race at Laguna will be really close. I think there's a couple of guys that could step up, namely Loris Baz, who's he's new to the series. He's from France, and he's on the HSBK Ducati. Loris, every track that we've gone to this year, since it's his first year in MotoAmerica, has been new to him. But he raced World Superbike and MotoGP at Laguna Seca prior. So he's actually going to a track that he knows, which obviously makes a big difference than if you're trying to not only learn the track, but, get your bike set up and et cetera for a track that you haven't been to.
How many staff members go into making Moto America event successful? How many people are behind the scenes that you never really see?
Not enough, but there's probably 15 core people, but we also rely heavily on volunteers. But I mean, we have everything from a cook that does the catering and hospitality to there's people that work the grid, there's people that work the in and out of the pit box, there's technical staff. It's probably 50 people when all is said and done, and that's not counting like corner workers, etc. But it takes a lot of stuff behind the scenes. When I worked at Cycle News for as long as I did, you don't really see, like, you just take for granted that these events go on, and when you're involved in it and you can see it from the other side, it's pretty complex, and it takes a lot of effort from a lot of people. And like any company, I mean, you never feel like you have enough employees when it gets going tough, but we make do, and I think we do a pretty good job.
Seems like all the racetracks around the country now have their signature food that they're known for at the racetrack. Which one's your favorite?
The corkscrew here at Laguna Seca is very different, and it's world famous. There's the S's at Road Atlanta that are famous, and you can always have that signature photo from each track, and those are the two that stand out in my mind.
Who do you think the next big star of the MotoAmerica series is going to be? Who's the next person we should be watching for in the future?
Well, there's a couple. There's young guys in our super sport class, which is like the next level below Superbike. Sean Dillon Kelly, who's from Miami, and also Richie Escalante, who's from Mexico City. These guys have been battling. This is their second year where they've tussled over the championship. Last year, Richie Escalante won it. This year, Sean Dillon Kelly is ahead of Richie Escalante. It's pretty much a two-man race at the top for the championship. But both those guys have a lot of talent, and they've shown they really know how to race, and they have good racecraft, and it's kind of cool because they've developed this rivalry that pushes both of them. So I wouldn't be surprised to see one of those guys become the next big thing. But it's one of the the next big star could come from like our junior cup class, which is for riders 14 and above. You just don't know. I mean, it takes a lot of talent, but it also takes the right amount of dedication and hard work, and so you never really know who's going to take that next step. But we have several riders that could be on the path to that. We just got to wait and see what happens.
One of the most important things nowadays is the online presence of racing things, trying to get people more involved in the sport. What sort of things does MotoAmerica do to keep their fans more involved?
Well, we're really, really dedicated to our social media, and our social media numbers have just gone through the roof. I mean, I was with MotoAmerica when we started. In our first season was 2015, and obviously, when you start out, you basically have a following of nobody. And we've built that to really big numbers. I think we focus hard on, we give them tons of video clips and action clips throughout the weekend. And we try to really not only give more information to the people who are at the event, but really help the people who can't make it to the event feel like they're at the event. We take them kind of behind the scenes, and we have access to things that obviously the regular fan doesn't have. So we try to bring that into their homes, and our TV package is really superior. We have live Superbike racing on Fox Sports 1 and Fox Sports 2. We have Supersport racing on MAV TV, and we also have our live streaming and on-demand service, which is MotoAmerica Live Plus, which has proved really popular because people can watch practice sessions, they can watch the races, different interviews, all kinds of stuff. It's basically nonstop for the entire weekend. So I think we really have a good handle on the whole social media and TV packaging to, give plenty of access for people to dive into MotoAmerica and what it really means.
And my final question for you this evening: But if my listeners are interested in more information about MotoAmerica, what would be the best place for them to go and find?
Well, I think if you started at the website, which is motoamerica.com, that's going to answer most of your questions as far as, schedule, TV schedule, rider bios, any news that's going on in the series. I think if you start there, it'll point you in the right direction if you want to customize what you want to see a little bit more than that. But that's where I would definitely start.
Well, good luck this weekend at the WeatherTech race we're going to take it and throughout the rest of the season. And we'd love to talk to you at the end of the year and see how the season went.
I'm here for you anytime, and I appreciate you guys having me on. And I hope you all have a good weekend.
Thank you. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Once again, that was Paul Carruthers, who's the spokesman for MotoAmerica. We're happy to have him on the show tonight. Are you a race car driver, crew chief, pit member, track owner? Maybe you're just a huge fan of the sport. Contact us to get your spot on the show. After all, use every 50 minutes of fame. We'd love to hear from you. The easiest way to find me, my contact information, is to go to speedwaydigest.com, check the racing news section down at the bottom of the page, and you'll find a profile of me under Adam Sinclair there. You might have to go a page or two down the list of stories, but I try to have at least one article posted there per day. So that's the easiest way to get in contact with me, to come on the program, and we'll see what we can do. It's going to be a busy weekend of racing this weekend. Tomorrow's one of the busiest days of the year, of course, with the NASCAR Cup cars, the NASCAR truck racing guys, heading to the Knoxville Raceway in Knoxville, Iowa. It'll be the first time they've traveled to that facility. I think it'll fight the race with 40 cars on a dirt track, 40 trucks on a dirt track. So be sure to check that out. Should be a pretty good event there. Also, there's a racing in Atlanta, I believe, this weekend. That's the NASCAR guys heading down to Atlanta. The Cup and the Xfinity Series. There'll be Atlanta Motor Speedway on Saturday and on Sunday. Saturday, of course, for the Xfinity Series, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Sunday for the Cup Series also at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Tomorrow night, the Camping World Truck Series event will be held rather late in the evening, I suppose. It starts at 9 p.m. Eastern, with TV coverage beginning at 8 p.m. Eastern on Fox Sports 1. Should be a great weekend of racing. Should be a fun time to hear about things. Next week, we got an awesome show for you. We're going to try and bring in our new celebrity correspondent, Dakota Dickerson, who recently coming off his victory in the P3 class in IMSA. He's going to be talking a little bit more about his involvement in the IMSA series, as well as the future of stock car and sports car racing. I know an awesome thing set up where he teaches guys in Formula cars, Formula 3 and Formula 4. I can touch on that a little bit as well. He is scheduled to be on the show next week, but I won't make any guarantees because his schedule is always in flux. He will be our new celebrity correspondent. I'm going to try and have him on at least once a month, possibly once every other month, to talk about his journey through the world of motorsports. Excuse me. Be sure to check out past episodes of Thursday Night Thunder, as well as the other shows on the Speedway Digest Radio Network at speedwaydigest.podbean.com. As I stated, currently we are the only show in town there on the Speedway Digest Radio Network, but hopefully sometime in the future other shows will pop up. There have been lots of great programs on there, including most recently the Pit Stop with Tim Despain and Stephen Wilson. That took place most of the past several years. They are currently taking a break, and I know that Tim was working on a new thing that we talked about a little bit at the end of last season. Hopefully he gets that worked out. But again, check out the other shows on the Speedway Digest Radio Network. So check out the show on Facebook by searching for Speedway Digest Thursday Night Thunder in the search bar. I also invite you to read the articles covering all aspects of motorsports at speedwaydigest.com. Recently, we've been able to restart our Revved Up with Waldorf series, which is always very popular there, where we profile different authors and get their take on the world of motorsports and autosports. So that's kind of interesting, and I think that's done pretty well for me. We've got, I think, 7 more of those to go in the next couple of weeks. There might be other artists and authors who are interested in participating in that special. I'll let you know. As of right now, we've got less than 10 of those to go. And I've always had fun with those interviews. That's kind of an interesting thing to talk about. We're also working on other things. One of the big highlights I'm going to talk about a little bit this week, I'll talk a little bit more about next week, is we're going to be heading down to Homestead Miami Speedway for the Farah race, which is Formula and Racing Association. That's a interesting series there. They do a lot of sports car type racing. They've got prototypes, and E3s, and even some old P2 style cars there. So we'll check that out in Homestead, probably on the 18th, I believe. I'm going down there, like 10 days. So that'll be cool. Hoping to see people like Simona de Silvestro, possibly Eric Curran, and other drivers you may or may not have heard of. They've all raced in the series now and then. Simona de Silvestro is racing full time, I believe, in the series there. So that'll be interesting to see how she does. In addition, if you're a fan of stuff, who isn't, be sure to check out the latest news and information about our Slice of Paradise at my fairly new and always updated blog, Favorplum's Fantastic Finds. That's FABORPLUMBS, Fantastic Finds, which can be found on Facebook, Twitter. Easiest way to find on Twitter is at PBHappening, and by heading to Favorplum's Fantastic Finds.wordpress.com. We're doing a lot of stuff on there, including the 5 questions with different authors there from Waldorf as well. Plus, we've got all different sorts of local news and information. We're working on doing a little bit of a profile on some of the people at the Legoland Florida Resort for that. So be sure to check that out. We're also doing some restaurant reviews again. We haven't done many restaurant reviews in the past year or so, obvious reasons. We do have a restaurant review coming up at Lou Bossie's, which is, I believe, in Boca Raton. So be sure to check that out on Favorplum's Fantastic Finds. We aren't sure exactly what date we're going to be publishing the review of Lou Bossie's. I'm thinking sometime in the next couple of weeks. Again, just check that out. Go to at PBHappening or at Favorplums for more details about that. Once again, we're going to keep the show a little bit short and sweet this evening, but we'd like to thank our guest, Paul Carruthers. Also thank our correspondent, Michael Mullally, who helped with a lot of the questions there they asked Mr. Carruthers this evening. As well as our listeners. We couldn't do this without you. I'd like to give a shout out to Text 1025, who's here in the chat this evening and is helping me out with a few other questions as well. So it's always great to have people in the chat room who are productive and happy to listen to the program. We hope you join us next week. It'll be a great show, and we've got some awesome guests coming up in the next few weeks. Thank you for listening. We look forward to seeing you again in the Thunderdome as we discuss the major issues in the world of modern auto racing. Have a great week, and thanks again.